My daughter sent me an email 3 days before her wedding. One sentence. You're uninvited. Watch Livestream wedding. I'm Finn Williams, CEO of CloudSync Technologies. I built this company from nothing. I also built my daughter's entire lifestyle, her Stanford education, her Tesla, her $80,000 wedding that I was paying for. But apparently, I wasn't good enough to attend it. Florence decided her tech mogul father was too embarrassing for her future in-laws. Old San Francisco money versus new Silicon Valley success. They wanted sophistication. I represented complications. Here's what Florence forgot when she hit send on that email. When you build a tech empire in Silicon Valley, you don't just make money. You make connections. You become part of an ecosystem where every business relationship matters. And sometimes that ecosystem includes every single vendor your ungrateful daughter just hired for her dream wedding. I want you to subscribe to this channel because stories like this matter. Real consequences for real disrespect. And let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I guarantee every parent watching understands exactly how this feels. This is what happened when my daughter learned the difference between funding a wedding and earning an invitation. And why sometimes the most loving thing a father can do is teach his child that actions have consequences. Starting with one phone call that changed everything. Let me show you exactly what 8 years of being an ATM looks like. After Elena and I divorced in 2016, I made a promise. Florence would never feel the financial strain of our failed marriage. That promise cost me $847,000. I have every receipt. Stanford tuition, $96,000, room and board, $68,000, her Tesla Model S, $85,000, plus $1,200 a month in payments I still cover. Mission District Loft, $4,500 monthly rent, paid automatically from my account for 3 years running. Then there were the extras. Spring break in Cabo, $8,000. Summer in Europe, $15,000. Her laptop died during finals. $3,000 MacBook Pro, delivered same day. Wardrobe for her internship at mom's PR firm. $12,000 at Nordstrom. Because image matters in this business, Dad. I kept detailed records. Not because I'm obsessive, but because I'm a businessman. Every expense, every transfer, every gift, documented. What I didn't document was the gradual shift in how she spoke to me. Thanks, Dad became, can you Venmo me? Which became, I need money transferred by tomorrow. The please disappeared first. Then the explanations. Finally, even basic courtesy. Last Christmas, I flew to San Francisco to take her to dinner. She showed up 40 minutes late, spent 30 minutes on her phone, then asked if I could cover her friend's meal too. When I mentioned feeling ignored, she said, Dad, you're being dramatic. This is just how my generation communicates. But it wasn't generational. It was personal. She'd learned to see me as a resource, not a relationship. The pattern became crystal clear during her engagement party last February. Trevor's family, old San Francisco money, the kind that whispers about new tech wealth, treated me like hired help. Trevor's father, Charles Blackstone, actually asked if I was the caterer when I walked into his Pacific Heights mansion. Florence stood right there, said nothing. Let me introduce myself, while her future father-in-law looked confused about why the help was shaking his hand. Later that night, I heard her on the phone with her mother. Dad's fine. He just doesn't understand sophisticated social situations. Trevor's family is different. More refined. Refined. As if building a company from nothing, employing 300 people, and funding her entire lifestyle wasn't sophisticated enough for San Francisco society. The wedding planning revealed the true hierarchy. Elena and Trevor's mother handled everything. Guest list, venue selection, menu tasting. I was informed of decisions, not included in making them. My role was clear. Sign checks, stay quiet, smile on command. 3 weeks ago, I tried to discuss the rehearsal dinner speech I'd been preparing. Florence looked genuinely confused. Oh, Dad, we decided Trevor's father is doing the father of the bride speech. He has more experience with these events, you understand, right? I understood perfectly. Charles Blackstone, who'd never held a job because he inherited everything, had more experience than the man who'd built his own fortune and raised her as a single father for 8 years. That night, I called my assistant, Margaret, pulled together everything we've spent on Florence since the divorce. Everything. The number shocked even me. $847,312, nearly $1 million spent on someone who decided I was too embarrassing to speak at her wedding. But here's what Florence didn't know about her unsophisticated father. When you build a tech company in Silicon Valley, you don't just make money. You make connections. You build relationships. You become part of an ecosystem where favors and partnerships interweave like code. And sometimes, just sometimes, that ecosystem includes every vendor your daughter hired for her dream wedding. The email arrived Tuesday, March 12th at 2:47 p.m. I was in a board meeting when my phone buzzed. Dad? Change of plans. Trevor's family feels the wedding should be more intimate. You're uninvited. We'll send you the Livestream link. Thanks for understanding. No phone call, no conversation. Just a corporate-style notification that I'd been terminated from my own daughter's wedding, a wedding I was paying for. I excused myself from the meeting and read it again, then again. 47 words that reduced 24 years of fatherhood to a live-stream viewing party for one. Margaret found me in my office an hour later, staring at my computer screen. Sir, you missed the quarterly review call. I showed her the email. Margaret has been with me for 12 years. She watched Florence grow up through school photos on my desk and parent-teacher conferences I'd call into from business trips. She's seen every report card, every graduation photo, every proud father moment I've shared. That little... She caught herself. Mr. Williams, this is unacceptable. What are my options here, Margaret? Cut off funding and look like the vindictive ex-husband? Show up anyway and cause a scene? Send a nice card and pretend this is normal? Sir, may I suggest a different question? What message does accepting this send? She was right. If I did nothing, if I smiled and watched from my computer while Trevor's father gave my speech and Elena played happy family with her new in-laws, what was I teaching Florence about consequences? More importantly, what was I teaching myself about self-respect? I pulled up the wedding contracts. $80,000 in vendor agreements, all signed by CloudSync Technologies as guarantor. The venue deposit alone was $15,000. Catering minimum, $35,000 for 200 guests. Photography package, $8,500. Floral arrangements, $12,000. Every contract bore my signature. Every payment came from my accounts. Every vendor relationship existed because of my business connections. Margaret, what would happen if I simply stopped paying? Legally, you'd be within your rights. These are all revocable contracts with standard cancellation clauses. Morally? She paused. Sir, at what point does generosity become enabling? That was the question that kept me awake that night. When does supporting your child cross the line into teaching them that actions don't have consequences? I thought about my own father, a machinist who worked 60-hour weeks to put me through college. He never had the luxury of throwing money at problems. Every dollar was earned. Every opportunity had a cost. He taught me that respect was earned, not inherited. Son, he'd said when I started CloudSync, money amplifies character. It doesn't create it. Florence's character had been amplified, all right, and what I saw wasn't pretty. I tried calling her Wednesday morning, straight to voicemail. I texted, "We need to talk about the wedding situation." Her response came 6 hours later. "Dad, stop being dramatic. It's just one day." Just one day. 24 years of fatherhood reduced to just one day that I was too embarrassing to attend. Thursday, I called Elena. "Did you know about this?" "Finn, you have to understand. The Blackstones have certain expectations. This wedding is important for Florence's future. Trevor's family has connections that could really help her career. And I don't?" Silence. Then, "You've been wonderful about the financial support, but socially, well, you know how these old San Francisco families can be." There it was. Wonderful about financial support. Not wonderful as a father. Not proud of what I'd accomplished. Wonderful at writing checks and staying invisible. "So, you're comfortable with Florence treating me like a credit card?" "You're being oversensitive. She loves you, Finn. She just wants her wedding to be perfect. Perfect. A perfect wedding that excluded the man paying for it." That night, I sat in my Palo Alto house, the house Florence had called too flashy when Trevor first visited, and did the math. If I continued down this path, accepting disrespect, because family comes first, Where would it end? Would I pay for her house while being excluded from the housewarming? Fund her children's education while being deemed too embarrassing for school events? Write checks for grandchildren I'd only see through social media? The stakes were bigger than one wedding. This was about establishing what kind of relationship we'd have for the next 30 years. This was about whether love required respect or if money could substitute for dignity. By Friday morning, I'd made my decision. But first, I needed to understand exactly how much power I actually had. Friday morning, I called Florence directly. This time she answered, "Dad, I'm at work. Can this wait?" "No, we need to discuss the wedding." I heard her sigh. "Dad, I already explained. It's complicated." "Explain it again, because from where I sit, you've uninvited me from an event I'm funding." "Don't be dramatic. It's not about you." "Florence, I've spent $47,000 on deposits alone. How is this not about me?" Her voice sharpened. "See? This is exactly why Mom said you'd react this way. Everything's always about money with you." "Everything's about money? I've spent $800,000 on you since the divorce." "I never asked for that." The audacity hit me like ice water. "You never asked? Your Tesla payments, your rent, your credit cards, who did you think was paying for those?" "Dad, you're embarrassing yourself. Successful parents support their children. It's normal. Normal parents get invited to their children's weddings. Look, Trevor's family has standards. They're old San Francisco society. They understand etiquette. And I don't?" A pause. Then the words that changed everything. "Dad, you're new money. You made it in tech. That's different. The Blackstones appreciate breeding." Breeding, as if I were livestock instead of the man who'd raised her. "Florence, let me understand this. You're saying I'm not good enough for your wedding?" "Stop twisting my words. I'm saying Trevor's family knows how these events work. You wouldn't be comfortable anyway." "Try me. Dad, please, don't make this harder than it already is." "For who? For you, or for the family that thinks your father is beneath them?" "You know what? Yes, for me. This wedding is important. Trevor's future, my future, it's all connected to making the right impression." "And I'm the wrong impression." "You're, intense. You ask questions. You don't understand how subtle these social things work." "Intense. For asking why my own daughter was excluding me from her wedding." "Florence, I'm going to ask you one more time. Am I invited to your wedding or not?" "Dad, just watch the live stream. It'll be beautiful. You'll see everything." "That's not what I asked." "I can't. Trevor's family would be uncomfortable. Mom agrees. We talked about it." "You talked about it. With everyone except me. Because we knew you'd react like this." "Like what? Like a father who wants to attend his daughter's wedding?" "Like someone who doesn't understand that sometimes family means making sacrifices for each other." "Sacrifices? Like the 800,000 in sacrifices I've already made?" "There you go again with the money. Dad, normal fathers don't keep score. Normal daughters don't uninvite their fathers via email." She was quiet for a moment. Then, "Dad, I love you, but love means understanding when you're not compatible with certain situations." "Compatible with my own daughter's wedding." "Florence, let me be very clear. Are you saying that despite paying for this wedding, I'm not welcome to attend?" "I'm saying the situation is complicated and sometimes adults have to make mature decisions." "The mature decision is to exclude your father?" "The mature decision is to prioritize the long-term success of my marriage over one day's emotions." One day's emotions. That's what she called a father's desire to attend his daughter's wedding. "And if I'm not comfortable with this arrangement?" For the first time, her voice got cold. "Then you're being selfish. Dad, Trevor's family could open doors for me that you can't. This is bigger than your feelings. Bigger than your father. Bigger than your ego, yes. Your ego." The man who'd single-handedly funded her entire adult life had an ego problem for wanting basic respect. "Florence, you realize I signed the contracts for this wedding, right? And we appreciate that. We really do. That's why you'll get the live stream link. What if I decide to stop paying?" Silence, then a laugh. "Dad, you wouldn't do that. You're not that petty." "Petty? Wanting to attend my daughter's wedding was petty. You're sure about that?" "Dad, you've spent 24 years being my father. You're not going to ruin my wedding because your feelings are hurt. My feelings aren't hurt, Florence. I'm reconsidering the relationship dynamics. What does that mean? It means I'm wondering why I should fund a wedding that I'm too embarrassing to attend. Because you love me. Because that's what fathers do. What do daughters do, Florence? They make their own decisions about their lives, without considering their fathers. Without being controlled by them, yes. Controlled. Paying for her lifestyle was control, but excluding me from her wedding was independence. Florence, I want you to think very carefully about your next words. Do you believe I should pay for a wedding that I'm not allowed to attend? I believe you should want me to be happy. And my happiness? Your happiness isn't my responsibility, Dad. I'm 24. I get to choose my own life. You're absolutely right. You do get to choose your own life. Good. So we're settled. We're settled. You've made your choice. Now I'll make mine. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're about to learn the difference between generosity and obligation. Dad, you're scaring me. Good. You should be scared, because for the first time in 8 years, you're about to face consequences for your choices. I hung up. Margaret was standing in my doorway. How did it go? She called me petty, controlling, and embarrassing, said Trevor's family has standards I don't meet. Sir? Yes? Would you like me to start making some calls? I looked at my phone. My daughter had just told me I wasn't good enough for her wedding, but my money was good enough for her lifestyle. Margaret, let's say exactly how much influence this embarrassing father really has. Margaret Foster has been my executive assistant for 12 years. In Silicon Valley, where loyalty lasts about as long as a product cycle, that's several lifetimes. She started when CloudSync was a 30-person startup operating out of a converted warehouse in San Jose. Now we occupy 4 floors in Palo Alto, and she runs my professional life with military precision. What most people don't know about Margaret is that she came to us from BlackRock, where she managed relationships for a portfolio worth $3 billion. She didn't just answer phones and schedule meetings. She knew where money moved, and more importantly, who moved it. Sir, she said, settling into the chair across from my desk with her iPad, before we do anything irreversible, I think you should understand exactly what you control. I thought I knew. CloudSync Technologies, my investment portfolio, the house, the cars, the obvious assets of a successful tech entrepreneur. I was wrong. Let's start with the wedding vendors, Margaret said, swiping through screens of information. Bella Vista Country Club. You've been a member for 8 years. More importantly, CloudSync's corporate events have generated over $400,000 in revenue for them since 2019. I nodded. I knew that. What you might not remember is that we helped them secure their liquor license renewal last year. Your letter of recommendation was crucial. I'd forgotten about that. The club had run into regulatory issues, and my testimony about their community contribution had carried weight with the city council. Elegant Events Catering. You've used them for every company function since 2020. They depend on corporate accounts like ours for 60% of their revenue. I remember their owner, Patricia Hendricks. And sir, her daughter got into Stanford partly because of your recommendation letter. You mentored her through the application process. That stopped me. Jennifer Hendricks. Bright kid, wanted to study computer science. I'd spent hours reviewing her essay, made calls to admissions contacts. I'd forgotten Patricia was her mother. Artisan Florals, Margaret continued. The owner, David Chen, supplies flowers for our lobby. Has for 6 years. His brother works in our IT department. David Chen. Good man. First-generation immigrant who'd built his business from nothing. We'd bonded over the entrepreneur struggle. His brother Tony was one of our best network administrators. Margaret, are you telling me I know all of Florence's vendors? Sir, you don't just know them. You're essential to their businesses. CloudSync isn't just a client. You're the client that pays their mortgages. She kept scrolling. Morrison Photography. Finn Morrison shot our company retreat last year. Said it was his biggest contract ever. The venue management? Bella Vista's events director is Amanda Walsh. Her husband works for our biggest client, Systech Solutions. You golf with him monthly. The picture was becoming clear. Florence had hired vendors in a Silicon Valley ecosystem where my company was a major player. Not intentionally, she probably didn't even know these connections existed. But in the interconnected world of Bay Area business, 6 degrees of separation was more like 2. Margaret, what are you suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything, sir. I'm stating facts. Every vendor your daughter hired depends on relationships you either control or significantly influence. My phone buzzed. A text from Florence. Dad, I hope you're not upset. The live stream will be really good quality. Trevor's family is hiring a professional team. I showed Margaret the message. She raised an eyebrow. Sir, may I ask you something personal? Go ahead. If one of your business partners treated you the way Florence just did, took your money but excluded you from the decision-making, what would you do? I'd terminate the partnership immediately. And if they claimed you were being emotional or unreasonable? I'd let the consequences speak for themselves. Margaret nodded. Sir, you built CloudSync by being decisive, by not accepting disrespect from anyone, regardless of their position or relationship to you. She was right. In business, I'd never tolerated the treatment I was accepting from my daughter. I'd ended partnerships with companies worth millions because they'd tried to dictate terms that undermined my dignity. But this is family. Sir, with respect, family relationships still require mutual respect. Actually, they require more respect, not less. Another text from Florence. Also, can you handle the final vendor payments this week? Trevor's family shouldn't have to worry about logistics. The audacity was breathtaking. Exclude me from the wedding, then ask me to handle the financial logistics so Trevor's family wouldn't be inconvenienced. Margaret, pull the vendor contracts. All of them. Yes, sir. What should I look for? Cancellation clauses, penalty structures, notice requirements. Should I also review our relationships with each vendor, of their other business connections? I thought about that. In venture capital, due diligence meant understanding every stakeholder, every dependency, every leverage point. This wasn't different. Do it. I want to understand the full landscape before I make any decisions. And sir, the wedding is in 3 days. 3 days. 72 hours for Florence to learn that actions have consequences. 72 hours for the Blackstone family to discover that the man they considered beneath them had more power than they'd imagined. Margaret, start with the venue. I want to know exactly who controls what at Bella Vista Country Club. She smiled. The first time I'd seen her smile all week. Sir, you might be interested to know that you don't just have influence at Bella Vista. What do you mean? You own 30% of it. The partnership investment you made in 2021, that wasn't just a financial investment. You're a partial owner. 30% of Florence's wedding venue. My daughter had just uninvited me from a wedding taking place at a club I partially owned. The final humiliation came Saturday night at Trevor's bachelor party. I wasn't invited, of course, but Elena called me at 11:30 p.m., her voice tight with champagne and anger. Finn, you need to fix this situation with Florence. Elena, it's nearly midnight. I'm at the Blackstone house. The whole wedding party is here. She's saying things. I could hear laughter and conversation in the background, the sound of a party I was specifically excluded from, discussing a wedding I was specifically funding. What kind of things? Things about you, about your emotional stability. Trevor's family is asking questions about whether you're going to cause problems. My emotional stability. For wanting to attend my daughter's wedding. Elena, what exactly is Florence saying? Oh God, she's telling the story about how you threatened to ruin her wedding. She's making you sound unhinged. I heard voices getting closer to Elena's phone. Then Florence's voice, clearly audible. My dad's going through some kind of midlife crisis. He's been really possessive about the wedding planning. Mom thinks it's because he doesn't have a girlfriend. Laughter. Actual laughter at my expense. Elena moved away from the group. Finn, you need to call her tomorrow and apologize. Smooth this over. The Blackstones are sophisticated people. They don't understand family drama. Apologize for what? For making her choose between you and her future in-laws. For being difficult. Difficult. I was being difficult by expecting basic respect from my daughter. Elena, I asked one question. Am I invited to the wedding or not? That's not difficult. That's fundamental. You're being rigid. Family means compromise. What compromise is Florence making? Silence. Then, she's trying to balance everyone's needs. Whose needs are being balanced, mine or the Blackstones? Finn, don't make me choose sides. You already did. 8 years ago when you started poisoning her against me. You absolutely did. Every time she complained about my intensity or my social awkwardness, you agreed. Every time the Blackstones made snide comments about new money versus old money, you nodded along. That's not fair. What's fair? Is it fair that I've spent almost $1 million on Florence while being treated like hired help? Is it fair that I'm too embarrassing to attend her wedding but good enough to pay for it? I heard Florence's voice again, closer now. Mom, is that Dad? Tell him we need the final vendor payments by Monday. Trevor's dad doesn't want to cover anything accidentally. The final vendor payments. While simultaneously being excluded from the event, those payments were funding. Elena, put Florence on the phone. I don't think that's a good idea. She's been drinking and... Put her on the phone. A pause. Then Florence's voice, bright with champagne confidence. Hi, Dad. Are you excited about the live stream? Trevor's family is setting up multiple camera angles, so I could watch from home like a paying subscriber to my own daughter's wedding. Florence, I want you to listen very carefully. Are you telling me that while I'm paying for this wedding, I'm not welcome to attend? Dad, we've been through this. It's complicated. It's not complicated. Yes or no? Am I invited to your wedding? I heard whispers in the background, then Trevor's voice. Florence, just tell him no. Be direct. Just tell him no. My future son-in-law coaching my daughter on how to exclude me more efficiently. Dad, the answer is no. You're not invited. But the live stream will be amazing and... Florence, stop. Did you just say I'm not invited to your wedding? Correct. You're not invited. The words hung in the air. After 8 years of funding her life, after 24 years of being her father, she'd just confirmed that I wasn't welcome at the most important day of her life. But the vendor payments are still expected. Well, yes, those are separate issues. Separate issues. Dad, you're being weird about this. Lots of parents don't attend their children's weddings. It's not personal. Not personal. Being excluded from my daughter's wedding wasn't personal. Florence, whose idea was it to exclude me? It was a group decision. Trevor's family, Mom, me, we all agreed it would be better this way. Better for who? Better for everyone. Dad, you don't really fit with Trevor's family. They're very traditional, very proper. You ask too many questions. You challenge people. It makes everyone uncomfortable. I asked too many questions, like the question of why my daughter was excluding me from her wedding. So I make Trevor's family uncomfortable. Yes, frankly, yes. Charles Blackstone asked Mom if you had boundary issues, because you kept asking about the guest list and seating arrangements. Boundary issues, for wanting to know where I'd sit at a wedding I was funding. And you agreed with that assessment. Dad, you have to understand, the Blackstones are San Francisco society. They've been going to these kinds of events for generations. They know how things are supposed to work. And how are things supposed to work, Florence? Family supports family, quietly, without drama, without making everything about themselves. Everything about themselves. Wanting to attend my daughter's wedding was making everything about myself. Florence, let me ask you something. If Trevor's father had paid for this entire wedding, would he be invited? A pause. That's different. How is it different? Because he's Trevor's father. And I'm your father. But Trevor's father understands social protocol. He knows how to behave at these events. How to behave. The man who'd built a company from nothing, who'd raised her as a single father, who'd funded her entire lifestyle, didn't know how to behave at his own daughter's wedding. Florence, what would Trevor's father have to do to get uninvited from the wedding? Dad, that's not... What would he have to do? Hit someone? Steal something? What level of behavior gets a father uninvited from his child's wedding? You're being dramatic. I'm being precise. What did I do to get uninvited? You made people uncomfortable with your questions and your expectations. My expectations of attending my daughter's wedding. Your expectations of controlling every detail. I asked about seating arrangements and guest lists. For a wedding I'm paying for. See? You're doing it again. Making everything about money. Making everything about money while asking me to pay for everything. I heard Charles Blackstone's voice in the background. Is that her father? Perhaps someone should explain that persistence isn't always a virtue. Persistence. Wanting to attend my daughter's wedding was persistence. Florence, I want you to tell Trevor's father something for me. Dad, please don't. Tell him that the persistent father he's so concerned about just made a decision about the wedding funding. What kind of decision? Tell him he's about to learn the difference between old money and new money. Dad, what does that mean? It means old money inherits power. New money builds it. And tomorrow I'm going to show your future family exactly what built power looks like. I hung up. Margaret was right. For 12 years, I'd built a company by refusing to accept disrespect from anyone. It was time to apply those same principles to my family relationships. Starting tomorrow morning, Sunday morning, I arrived at my office at 6 a.m. Margaret was already there with coffee and a detailed breakdown of every vendor contract, every business relationship, every connection point between CloudSync Technologies and Florence's wedding. Sir, I've confirmed the ownership structure. Bella Vista Country Club. You own 30% through the Peninsula Hospitality Partners, LLC, that we established in 2021. I remembered that investment. The club had needed capital for renovations after COVID losses. I'd structured it as a partnership investment, partly for the tax benefits, partly because I believed in supporting local businesses. Who else knows about this ownership? The club's board of directors and the general manager, Robert Harrison. The wedding coordinator, Amanda Walsh, reports to Harrison. Does Florence know? There's no indication she's aware of any ownership connection. She booked through the club's standard wedding services. My phone rang. Elena. Finn, Florence is panicking. She said you threatened Trevor's family last night. I didn't threaten anyone. I told her they were about to learn something about built power versus inherited power. What does that mean? It means I'm done being treated like a credit card with boundary issues. You're scaring her. Good. She should be scared. For 8 years, she's operated under the assumption that my money comes with no expectations of respect. That assumption is ending. Finn, please, think about what you're doing. I am thinking. I'm thinking about the vendor contracts I signed. I'm thinking about the relationships I've built. I'm thinking about the ownership stakes I hold. A pause. Ownership stakes? Elena, did you know that I'm a part owner of Bella Vista Country Club? Silence. Florence booked her wedding at a venue I partially own. The same wedding she's decided I'm too embarrassing to attend. Oh my God. It gets better. CloudSync Technologies is a major client for her caterer, her florist, and her photographer. We're not just customers. We're the customers that keep their businesses alive. Finn, you can't, I can't what? Exercise my legitimate business relationships? Make decisions about my own investments? Choose which vendors deserve my continued support? You can't destroy your daughter's wedding. I'm not destroying anything. I'm simply clarifying the business relationships Florence seems to have forgotten exist. At 8 a.m., I called Robert Harrison, the general manager of Bella Vista Country Club. Mr. Williams, good to hear from you. I trust you're looking forward to your daughter's wedding next weekend? Robert, that's why I'm calling. There's been a change in circumstances. Oh? I won't be attending the wedding. I'm sorry to hear that, sir. Family complications? You could say that. Robert, as part owner of the club, I want to review the details of the Williams wedding contract. Of course. Let me pull that up. Yes, here it is. Bella Vista East Garden, Saturday, March 15th, ceremony at 4 p.m., reception to follow. 200 guests. Everything looks in order. Who signed the contract? Let me see. CloudSync Technologies is listed as the guarantor, with your personal signature as authorized representative. And who has the authority to modify or cancel that contract? A pause. Well, sir, as the signatory and part owner, you would have that authority. Is there a problem? Robert, I need you to understand something. My daughter has informed me that I'm not welcome at this wedding. She's decided her father is too socially awkward for her future in-laws. Mr. Williams, that's highly unusual. It's unprecedented, Robert. But here's my question. If I'm not welcome at the wedding, should CloudSync Technologies continue guaranteeing the costs? That's a business decision I'm not qualified to advise on. You're right. It is a business decision, and I've made it. At 8:30, I called Patricia Hendricks at Elegant Events Catering. Finn, so good to hear from you. We're all set for Florence's wedding. The menu is going to be spectacular. Patricia, I need to discuss the contract terms. Is there a problem with the menu? We can still make adjustments. The problem isn't the menu. Patricia, did you know that I'm not invited to this wedding? Silence. I'm sorry, what did you say? Florence has decided that her father, the man paying for the catering, is too embarrassing to attend the wedding. Finn, that can't be right. It's completely right. I have the email. Would you like me to forward it? This is very awkward. We've never had a situation where the guarantor wasn't attending the event. Neither have I. Patricia, I want to ask you something personal. When your daughter was applying to Stanford, and I wrote that recommendation letter, did you appreciate the support? Of course. Jennifer still talks about how much your guidance meant to her. And when CloudSync became your biggest corporate client, did that matter to your business? Finn, you know it did. Corporate events are 40% of our revenue. So you'd say I've been a good partner to your family and your business? Absolutely. Then help me understand why I should continue funding a catering contract for an event I'm not allowed to attend. Another long pause. Finn, I honestly don't know what to say. This puts us in a very difficult position. Patricia, I'm not asking you to choose sides. I'm asking you to understand the business reality. CloudSync Technologies guaranteed this contract, but the family dynamics have changed dramatically. What are you saying exactly? I'm saying that as of this morning, I'm reconsidering all vendor relationships associated with this wedding. At 9 a.m., I called David Chen at Artisan Florals. Mr. Williams, the arrangements for Florence's wedding are going to be beautiful. We've got white roses, peonies, eucalyptus, exactly what she requested. David, I need to ask you something. Do you know why I'm not attending Florence's wedding? You're not attending? But you're her father. Florence and her future in-laws have decided I don't meet their social standards. They've uninvited me. That doesn't make sense. You're paying for everything. David, your brother Tony works for CloudSync, correct? Yes, he's been with you for 6 years. He loves working there. And CloudSync is your largest client. By far. You've been incredible to work with. So when I tell you that I've been excluded from my own daughter's wedding, the wedding I'm funding, what would you advise me to do? I'd advise you to have a serious conversation with your daughter. I tried that. She told me I'm too socially awkward for the Blackstone family, that I ask too many questions and make people uncomfortable. Williams, you're one of the most professional people I've ever worked with. Apparently, professionalism and social sophistication are different things, David. According to Florence, I lack the breeding necessary for San Francisco society. That's ridiculous. Is it? Because right now, I'm funding a wedding for people who consider me beneath them, and I'm wondering why I should continue that arrangement. At 9:30, Finn Morrison Photography. Mr. Williams, I'm so excited about Saturday. The lighting at Bella Vista is going to be perfect for Florence's ceremony. Finn, quick question. How important is CloudSync's business to your company? Incredibly important. The corporate retreat photos we did last year led to 3 more corporate accounts. You've been amazing to work with. And you're aware I'm not attending the wedding you're photographing. What? That can't be right. It's completely right. My daughter has decided her father is too embarrassing for her wedding photos. Apparently, I don't photograph well with San Francisco society. Mr. Williams, I've photographed you at dozens of corporate events. You're always professional, always courteous. Not according to my daughter. She's concerned I might ask inappropriate questions or display improper social behavior. This is insane. Finn, let me ask you something. If you were hired to photograph an event, but the person paying for the photography wasn't allowed to attend that event, how would that feel? Like something was very wrong with the situation. That's exactly how it feels. By 10 a.m., I'd spoken to every major vendor. Each conversation followed the same pattern: shock, confusion, and a growing understanding that something fundamental was broken in this arrangement. Margaret compiled the responses. Sir, every vendor has expressed serious concerns about the current arrangement. Several have asked for clarification about continuing with the contracts. What did you tell them? That decisions would be made by end of business today. My phone rang. Amanda Walsh, from Bella Vista. Mr. Williams, I just spoke with Robert Harrison. He said there might be complications with Saturday's wedding. Amanda, your husband works with my biggest client, doesn't he? Yes, Mike works for Systech Solutions. You two golf together. And how do you think Mike would react if he knew his wife was coordinating a wedding that specifically excluded me? Mr. Williams, I honestly had no idea you weren't attending. That's highly irregular. Amanda, in your professional experience, have you ever coordinated a wedding where the father was paying for everything but wasn't invited to attend? Never. Not once in 15 years. Because it's unprecedented. It's not just unprecedented, it's wrong. At noon, Florence called. Dad, what are you doing? Amanda Walsh just called asking weird questions about the wedding. I'm clarifying business relationships. What does that mean? It means vendors are confused about why they're taking money from someone who's not welcome at the event. Dad, you're embarrassing me. I'm embarrassing you. Florence, you uninvited me from your wedding. You told Trevor's family I have boundary issues. You said I lack the social sophistication for their circles. I never said you lack sophistication. You said I don't understand proper behavior, that I ask too many questions, that I make the Blackstones uncomfortable. Because you do. And now I'm making vendors uncomfortable too, by asking why I should pay for services at an event I can't attend. Because you're my father. Exactly. I'm your father. The father you've decided is too embarrassing for your wedding. Dad, stop calling vendors. You're creating problems. I'm not creating problems, Florence. I'm revealing problems that already exist. What's that supposed to mean? It means you're about to learn something about the business relationships you've been taking for granted. Are you threatening my wedding? I'm not threatening anything. I'm simply exercising my legitimate business authority over contracts I signed and relationships I built. Dad, please, don't ruin this. Florence, I want you to think very carefully about your next words. You have one opportunity to fix this situation. Fix what? I can't uninvite Trevor's family? I'm not asking you to uninvite anyone. I'm asking you to invite your father. I can't do that. They'll be uncomfortable. And I'm uncomfortable funding a wedding I can't attend. Dad, those are two separate things. No, Florence. They're the same thing. Respect and support go together. So what are you saying? I'm saying you have until 5 p.m. today to decide what matters more. Trevor's family's comfort or your father's respect. And if I choose Trevor's family, then you'll learn what it costs to exclude the man who owns 30% of your wedding venue. Silence. You own what? Bella Vista Country Club. I'm a part owner of the venue where you're getting married. I helped save it during COVID. You never told me that. You never asked. You were too busy telling me I wasn't sophisticated enough to understand your social situations. Dad, what are you going to do? I'm going to respect your choice, Florence. If you choose Trevor's family over your father, then you get to live with the consequences of that choice. What consequences? You'll find out at 5 p.m. At 4:47 p.m., 13 minutes before my deadline, Florence called. Dad, I've talked to everyone. Mom, Trevor, his parents. We can't change the wedding arrangements now. Too many people would be confused. Too many people would be confused by inviting the bride's father to her wedding. Florence, so your final answer is that I remain uninvited? Dad, yes, but we really want you to watch the live stream. Trevor's family is setting up professional cameras. Professional cameras. So I could watch in high definition as Charles Blackstone gave the father of the bride speech at a wedding I was funding. Florence, you understand what you're choosing? I'm choosing my future, my marriage, my relationship with Trevor's family. Over your relationship with your father. Over your need to control everything. Control. Wanting basic respect was control. Okay, Florence, you've made your choice. Now I'll make mine. I hung up and called Margaret. It's time. At exactly 5 o'clock p.m., I called Robert Harrison at Bella Vista Country Club. Robert, this is Finn Williams. I'm exercising my authority as part owner and contract signatory to cancel the Williams wedding scheduled for Saturday, March 15th. Mr. Williams, are you certain? The wedding is in 5 days. I'm certain. Per the cancellation clause in our partnership agreement, I have the right to cancel any event with 72 hours' notice for cause. And the cause? The event organizers have excluded the contract guarantor from attendance. That constitutes breach of the fundamental assumption underlying the agreement. Sir, this is highly unusual, but legally you're within your rights. The club will need to notify the 200 expected guests. Handle it however you normally handle cancellations, Robert. This is a standard business decision. At 5:03 p.m., I called Patricia Hendricks. Patricia, this is Finn Williams. I'm canceling the catering contract for the Williams wedding. Finn, the wedding is Saturday. We've already purchased all the ingredients. Patricia, I understand the timing is challenging, but I can't in good conscience fund catering for an event I'm prohibited from attending. What about the penalty fees? I'll honor all penalty clauses in the contract. but cloud sync technologies will not be paying for services at an event where I'm unwelcome. Finn, I understand your position, but this puts us in a terrible situation. Patricia, you're not in a terrible situation. You're in a business situation. A client has canceled a contract with proper notice and penalty payments. That's normal business. At 5:05 p.m., David Chen. David, this is Finn Williams. I'm canceling the floral contract for Saturday's wedding. Mr. Williams, we've already created all the arrangements. David, I'll pay the full contract amount plus penalties, but I won't fund flowers for a wedding that has excluded me. This is going to devastate Florence. David, Florence made this choice. She decided her father wasn't appropriate for her wedding. Now she gets to experience the consequences of that decision. At 5:07 p.m., Finn Morrison. Finn, I'm canceling the photography contract for the Williams wedding. Mr. Williams, I've already blocked out the entire weekend. I'll pay you for the full weekend as contracted, but I won't fund photography of an event I'm banned from attending. What should I tell Florence? Tell her this is what respect costs. By 5:15 p.m., every vendor had been notified. Margaret had coordinated the legal notifications and penalty payments. Total cost of cancellations, $34,000 in penalties and fees. Still 60% less than the original wedding budget. At 5:30 p.m., my phone started ringing. Elena. Finn, what have you done? I've honored Florence's decision to exclude me from her wedding. You've ruined her wedding. I haven't ruined anything. I've simply stopped funding an event I'm not allowed to attend. She's hysterical. She should be. For the first time in 8 years, her choices have consequences. At 5:45 p.m., Florence called. Dad, they're saying you canceled everything. The venue, the catering, the flowers, everything. That's correct. You can't do this. I can and I did. Florence, you made a choice. You chose Trevor's family's comfort over your father's dignity. Dad, there has to be another way. There was another way. You could have invited your father to your wedding. It's too late now. Trevor's family is already here. 200 people are expecting a wedding Saturday. Then you better figure out how to fund it yourself. I don't have $80,000. Neither do I. Not for events I'm excluded from. Dad, please, I'll do anything. Will you invite me to the wedding? Silence. I can't. Trevor's parents would be so confused. They've already planned the whole day around you not being there. Then you have your answer. Dad, this is cruel. Florence, what's cruel is spending 8 years funding someone who treats you like hired help. I never treated you like hired help. You uninvited me via email. You told people I have boundary issues. You said I lack the social sophistication for your wedding. How's that different from treating me like hired help? Because you're my father. You're supposed to support me no matter what. No matter what? No matter how disrespectfully you treat me? Family means unconditional support. Family means mutual respect, Florence. Support without respect is just enabling. So you're destroying my wedding to teach me a lesson? I'm not destroying anything. I'm setting boundaries. For the first time in 8 years, I'm requiring respect as a condition of support. Dad, please, I'm begging you. Florence, there's still time to fix this. You could call your guests, explain that there was a misunderstanding, and invite your father to your wedding. I can't do that to Trevor's family. Then you can't have your father's financial support. You're making me choose between you and my marriage. No, Florence, you already made that choice. I'm just honoring it. At 6 p.m., Margaret brought me a summary. All contracts officially canceled. All penalty payments processed. The venue will notify guests tomorrow morning. What's the total damage? $34,000 in penalties. The charity donation of $80,000 goes through tomorrow. Charity donation? Sir, you specified that any unused wedding funds should go to the Children's Hospital. Tax deductible, and it ensures the money serves a better purpose. At 6:30 p.m., Trevor called. Mr. Williams, surely we can work this out. My family is willing to reconsider the guest arrangements. Trevor, it's too late for reconsiderations. Your family had 5 days to include me in my daughter's wedding. You chose not to. But, sir, the financial implications are your responsibility now. You wanted a wedding without Florence's father? You've got one. Fund it yourself. Mr. Williams, please be reasonable. Trevor, I am being reasonable. I'm applying basic business principles to family relationships. No respect, no support. You're destroying our wedding. You destroyed my invitation. I'm simply responding in kind. The phone calls continued until midnight. Elena, Florence, Trevor. Charles Blackstone himself demanding I behave like an adult. I turned off my phone. Tomorrow, 200 guests would arrive at Bella Vista Country Club to find an empty garden and a brief note explaining that the wedding had been canceled due to fundamental disagreements about family values. For the first time in 8 years, my daughter was about to learn that choices have consequences. Saturday morning, March 15th, wedding day. I woke up at 7 a.m. and made coffee. My phone had 43 missed calls and 87 text messages. I ignored them all. At 8:30 a.m., Margaret called. "Sir, I thought you should know. The story is spreading on social media." "What story?" "One of the wedding guests posted about arriving at Bella Vista to find the wedding canceled. It's been shared 400 times in the last hour." Social media. Of course. 200 confused guests with smartphones, all wondering why they'd driven to Napa for a wedding that didn't exist. What are people saying? Mixed reactions. Some are calling you vindictive. Others are saying Florence got what she deserved. The consensus seems to be that uninviting your father from your wedding is unusual. At 10 a.m., Elena called. I answered. "Finn, do you see what you've done? Florence is having a panic attack. Trevor's family is furious. 200 people wasted their entire weekend. Elena, I didn't waste anyone's weekend. Florence did when she decided her father wasn't good enough for her wedding. You could have handled this privately." "I tried handling it privately. Florence hung up on me. You told me I was being dramatic. Trevor's family called me persistent." "So you humiliated her publicly?" "I didn't humiliate anyone. I simply stopped funding an event I was excluded from. The public nature of that decision was Florence's choice, not mine." "Finn, she's your daughter." "Exactly. She's my daughter. And she told 200 people that her father was too embarrassing to attend her wedding." At 11:30 a.m., Florence called. "Dad, it's over. Trevor's family is flying back to San Francisco. They're saying the wedding is off indefinitely." "I'm sorry to hear that." "Are you? Because you got exactly what you wanted." "Florence, what I wanted was to attend my daughter's wedding. What I got was a lesson in consequences. Trevor's parents are saying they can't trust our family's judgment, that we're too unstable for their social circle." "Unstable?" The Blackstone family, who'd excluded a father from his daughter's wedding, was concerned about stability. "Florence, maybe that's information you should have considered before excluding me." "Dad, Trevor might call off the engagement." "That's between you and Trevor. How can you be so cold?" "I'm not cold. I'm consistent. I told you that respect and support go together. You chose to test that principle. So you're happy my relationship is ruined?" "I'm not happy about anything, Florence. I'm sad that it took destroying your wedding to teach you about consequences." At 2 p.m., Charles Blackstone called. "Williams, you've embarrassed my family in front of 200 people." "Mr. Blackstone, I've honored my daughter's wishes. She didn't want me at her wedding. Now she doesn't have to worry about it." "You're a vindictive man." "I'm a consistent man. Florence decided I wasn't sophisticated enough for your family. I decided your family wasn't worthy of my financial support. You've ruined a young woman's happiness over wounded pride. I've established boundaries after 8 years of being treated like an ATM. My lawyers will be reviewing your actions. Your lawyers will find that I canceled contracts that I had every legal right to cancel. I'm a part owner of the venue, the primary guarantor of the services, and the father who was excluded from his own daughter's wedding. This isn't over. Mr. Blackstone, it's completely over. Your family wanted a wedding without Florence's father. Mission accomplished." At 4 p.m., the time Florence's ceremony was supposed to begin, I received a text from an unknown number. "Mr. Williams, this is Jennifer Hendricks, Patricia's daughter. My mom told me what happened. I wanted you to know that everything you did for my Stanford application meant the world to our family. I can't believe Florence treated you that way." At 6 p.m., David Chen texted, "Finn, my brother Tony wanted me to tell you that everyone at CloudSync is talking about what happened. They all think Florence was wrong. You've been incredibly generous to her over the years." At 8 p.m., Amanda Walsh called, Mr. Williams, I wanted to apologize. In 15 years of wedding coordination, I've never seen a family exclude the person paying for the wedding. What happened to you was unconscionable." The validation was nice, but it didn't change the fundamental sadness of the situation. My daughter had chosen social status over family loyalty, and the consequences were exactly what any reasonable person would have predicted. Sunday morning, Elena called again. Finn, Florence wants to talk. She's ready to apologize. For what? For not handling the wedding situation better. Elena, I don't need an apology for not handling things better, miss. I need acknowledgement that excluding your father from your wedding is fundamentally wrong. She understands that now. Does she? Or does she understand that her choices have financial consequences? Monday morning, I returned to work. Margaret had prepared a stack of messages from vendors, colleagues, and business partners. Word had spread through Silicon Valley's tight-knit community about what had happened. The consensus was clear. Florence had made a catastrophic error in judgment, and the consequences were entirely predictable. But the most important consequence was still developing. Florence was about to learn whether her relationship with Trevor could survive the revelation of who her family really was. 3 weeks later, Florence called. Dad, Trevor and I are postponing the engagement. His family thinks we need time to reassess our compatibility. I'm sorry to hear that. Are you really? Florence, I never wanted your relationship to fail. I wanted basic respect from my daughter. I understand that now. Dad, I've been thinking about everything that happened, about how I treated you. And I think I forgot that you're a person, not just a resource. It was the first time in years she'd acknowledged my humanity. Florence, I've spent 8 years trying to buy your love with money. That was my mistake. But somewhere along the way, you started believing that money was all I had to offer. I know. And when Trevor's family made those comments about new money versus old money, I should have defended you instead of agreeing with them. Why didn't you? Because I wanted to fit in with them so badly that I forgot who raised me. We talked for an hour. About respect, about boundaries, about the difference between supporting someone and enabling them. Dad, can we try again? With better boundaries this time? Florence, I love you. I'll always love you. But love without respect isn't sustainable. I understand. And Dad, next time I get married, you're walking me down the aisle. Next time, when I marry someone who values the man who raised me instead of being embarrassed by him. For the first time in 8 years, my daughter sounded like the person I'd raised her to be. Respect isn't negotiable. Love without respect is manipulation. Sometimes the most loving thing a parent can do is let their child face the consequences of their choices.